All right, doing the cold open.
Yeah, what are we going to talk about today? Nothing happened this week.
Not nothing. No, that's a good way to say so much happened this week.
Yeah, sarcasm.
Sarcasm.
Have you heard of that?
Ever heard of it?
Who's not busy?
Yeah, I know. And summer in Colorado,
Yes.
everybody just gets crazy busy. I've been talking to a few clients about getting them in, and it's just like, nope, sorry, have a gig. Nope, sorry, have something already booked. No, sorry,
Yeah.
my brother is coming into town.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's just like,
Yeah.
if you want to do something in August, you better start thinking about it before August because
Yeah. Right. So that means, I guess, if you want to do a Christmas album, you better think about it in the spring.
yeah,
Yeah.
which that is another thing on my plate, finishing up a Christmas album. Yeah. So where do we want to start though? Going back in
I don't
the
even
week.
know.
Yeah. What was early in the week? Let's see. Did you have something?
I had a gig with Jacob.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was like the third one recently, singing back up with Jacob Larson at Pelican Bay at Cherry Creek. So it's that same series. I don't know if it's the same exact series, actually. I think it's a different music series, but it's the same location
Yeah.
as the Cherry Creek
It's at the
Reservoir
marina,
gig, so,
and,
yeah.
and yeah, we've talked about it. There's you're playing in front of the lake.
Yeah.
And people are
Yeah. So it was two bands. It was Jacob Larson and Page Six, which is,
yeah, which you said was good.
yeah, they were great.
Yeah.
They used to, they had a residency at Live at Jack's. They were the house band at Live at Jack's for a long time.
I see.
For
Right.
2 years.
Cool.
Right
Yeah.
before COVID. Here's a funny story that happened at that show. So I took my computer and I was working, just in the green room, waiting for Page Six to finish sound check so that we could get on and do sound check. And then everybody left the room. Like, everybody in Jacob's band left the room. And I was like, they're not going to need me. I'm just the backup vocalist. Like, they're not going to need me right away. Like, they'll do drums, they'll do bass. Like,
Yeah, right.
They don't need me for a while. So I just kept working. And then after a while, I realized, like, it's been a while. I should probably go down and sound check. And so I just, like, closed my computer, walk downstairs, walk down, walk up on stage, notice that nobody who is on stage is in Jacob's band. And I just continued walking off the other side of the stage.
No.
And Jacob and Bijou and Steve and Morgan were all just standing on the on the balcony.
Yeah.
And they were like, what is Adrian doing? Because I had high heels on and my hair was in my face and I was just like trying not to fall as I walked down that rickety dock and then across the sand and then up the stairs onto the stage. And so I didn't really like look at the stage until I was on the stage.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is not Jacob's band.
This is not my band.
I'm like, hi, I'm just going to walk. I just like didn't stop. I just walked across the stage and walked down the other side.
That is so much funnier than even turning around. Just like you're an extra or something and you just had a little cameo there. Just walked by in the background.
And I talked to them later, and they were like, we just thought you were, an extra guest we were having that we didn't know. I felt so stupid.
That is unbelievable.
Funny.
It's like you're just like, it's a movie scene set in New York and some lady just walks by.
Like, do you know there's a set happening right here? Anyway, the gig was fun. I got a chance to hang out and talk with Bijou a little bit.
Oh, that's great.
While waiting for sound check. What else? Some hang time with Morgan and with Jacob. Somehow I missed a whole medley that he had on that set that I didn't realize was on it.
Oh,
so
no.
I was like speed learning some harmonies. And it was funny because I put on Capo, which is a super speeder up software app.
Yeah.
I put it on.
It's
I'm
an
like,
app.
I'm playing the harmonies at 150% speed, and they're like, this is how you learn music. I was like, yeah, it's way more time efficient than listening at speed. But that went fine. They were easy harmonies. What else? Oh, I saw some people there. I saw Maria Ponzio, who is the mother
Right.
of Andreas de Valera, who was both of our client for quite a long
quite
time.
a long time, yeah. And there was somebody else, right?
Yeah, I saw Aubrey.
Aubrey
From Diamond
Hamrick.
Empire. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Aubrey and I got a little hang time too.
That's great.
So yeah, it was like quite the social event.
Because Aubrey is a producer
Yeah.
at. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure she gets pulled into gigs too.
Oh, she
but
does tons of gigs.
She does tons. Okay.
I mean, she does like 4 a week.
Oh my gosh!
But she
she's
also
a
produces.
producer.
Yeah, so she produces like 10 or 15 shows a week and plays like 4 of them.
Right.
So that's, I mean, it's a more than full-time job.
Yeah,
Especially in
wow.
the summer. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Oh
crazy.
yeah. My gosh, the summer we were just saying.
Yeah, and so like wedding after wedding,
Yeah.
some corporate, but mostly weddings, I think. But she loves it. Yeah.
Yeah,
what
and
else?
then we had a little date night. We went
Yes.
to
Prismagic.
Prismagic, because your gig was Wednesday, and then
Yeah.
Thursday we went to Prismagic, which was a art installation,
Yeah.
mini indoor adventure thing. It was like
Yeah.
a very tiny Meow Wolf, if you've ever been to a
Yeah.
Meow Wolf.
Yeah. Yeah, and you get a ticket and you go in and you can walk around in this place and explore it, and it's they give you these infrared flashlights.
Right, I forgot the infrared flashlights. Yeah.
And so a lot of the stuff you can't see unless you shine.
Yeah.
Well, not infrared, it's black light, right?
It's blacklight. Yeah, so it's in like blacklight paint, so you don't
Yeah.
see it until you shine the flashlight on it.
Yeah, and so it kind of had this magical, mystical feel.
And it was supposed to be like a the realm or home or area of the forest of this mythical Yeti type creature.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you got to go through, and there was one room where it was like his little hut, whatever, and it was very Japanese. I think the myth was a Japanese myth of this forest creature, and then so there were these areas of like there was a little hut and house and garden, and then there were,
Then there was like the birdhouse.
Yeah.
Downtown or something, like all these little birdhouses you can kind of peek in, and it was just like this, like they were like little dioramas, kind of.
Yeah,
It was just
dioramas. That's a good word.
super cute and like relaxing and a little magical. Oh, and there was the water
Yeah.
room.
And it was kind of immersive because they have these things that when you were in the thing that was supposed to kind of be like the seashore, they had a mist coming
Oh,
down
that's
on you,
right.
like
Yeah.
if the waves were like misting you.
Yeah.
So it was just an artsy, immersive.
Yeah. Lots of hours of handwork and labor went into that.
I
I'm
mean,
sure.
I am telling you, there was not a square inch that was not decorated or ornamented or
Yeah.
had something hidden.
Yeah.
Like it was just really, really, really well done, I thought.
Yeah. So it was small. I mean, like 3,000 square feet or something. but
Yeah.
we spent an hour in there.
Yeah, good hour. And it was fun. Like you said, it was just relaxing and just kind of like,
Something different to do.
yeah, and just feeling like you were in a very different space.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't.
I mean, it was in a mall. But
You didn't think you were really in a forest. And as I said, I bet it was like a Santa Claus situation where it wasn't the real Shiki, the Yeti. It was probably just some other Yeti.
yeah, the name for the Yeti was Shiki. Or
Yeah.
That's what I guess maybe it's the Japanese word for it. I don't know.
I don't know. But anyway, so we had fun there, and then we went to eat they had an attached restaurant.
Yeah. Mostly bar, but like some light
but-
eats.
Yeah.
Called the Night Owl, and they have part of the room there is a great little acoustic showcase room. They
It is
already have
very
shows
cool.
there, so we are definitely going to do a show there.
Also, that place very decorated and very vibey,
Yeah.
and I don't know really what the theme was. It was supposed to be something old. It was like
It's kind of like woody and birds and magical. I mean, it
yeah,
kind of went along with
it kind of went along with the
Prismagic.
like you were in the woods. But
oh my gosh! So they had a flight of cocktails
Right.
that had a theme that we have never thought of or seen before. So you could get a flight of cocktails, where each cocktail appealed to a sense. So sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch.
yeah.
And they were so creative. We did not get the flight.
We did not get
We
a
didn't wanna
flight.
get
but
five
like,
cocktails. But
yeah, but it was like so there was a flight of cocktails that were all dedicated to, let's say, the sense of smell, and so they had, I noticed one of them had like smoked. They do that thing where they smoke
Oh
tequila.
yeah. Yeah.
And that stuff is very smoky. So I guess when you're drinking it, you're gonna smell. But it's
Yeah.
a series of. It was just I've never seen anybody organize.
Yeah.
Yeah, drinks that way.
And for sound, it was like when you mix the crystalline lemon something into it, like hear what it sounds like. Maybe it pops or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
bubbles and pops.
Pretty
and,
creative
yeah.
idea.
Yeah, it was really.
We will. Yeah, we'll do
We're-
an acoustic showcase.
We're gonna
there
have
for
to do a
sure.
showcase there, and gosh, wasn't that place close to our house?
Yeah.
It never stops being surprising how much stuff is
Yeah.
15
It
minutes
was
from
in
our house.
Park Meadows Mall.
Yeah,
Or Park? Is it
not Park
Meadows?
Meadows, Colorado Mills.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like 10 minutes away.
I do know my malls.
Yeah. I hadn't been in a mall for a long time.
I haven't been in a mall in like 10 years or something.
I know.
Yeah. Who knows? But anyway, we did that and we had a great time. And then Friday,
I climbed a mountain. So I went to A Basin with some friends. Got up real early.
A Basin is a ski area.
Yes.
That's the ski area.
where I
Is that
have
the one where you went this year? Or
Yeah, the last 2 years, and I have a season pass
Okay.
for next year too.
Okay.
2 years? No, I only got a season pass 1 year.
Yeah.
I have a season pass for this next year too. And it's a local ski resort. They have the highest Via Ferrata in North America, which
We
is
talked about that.
Oh, we did. Okay.
It's
right.
the Iron Way.
Yeah, so you clip into a cable and make your way up. So we met at the base and then got on a chairlift and went up halfway. I mean, up that chairlift, and then they took us on an ATV further up the mountain, and then we went on a 1/2 mile hike, and then we did a little training session and then clipped in. It was super easy. Both from like a physical perspective and just like how steep it was. I mean, it was 800 feet elevation gain on the climbing part, and the entire hike was 3.5 miles. So it wasn't like anything insane. But if you didn't like heights, like you would have hated it.
The pictures look terrible.
Because you could just like look back around and just like, it's like you're flying. Like there's just space behind and around you. The views were spectacular. There were mountain goats. The guide was really chill. He grew up in an Amish related sect. He said it was like, he's called it Amish because it's the closest thing people are aware of. But he was like homeschooled and, knows how to, butcher animals and,
There is a lot of that in Colorado.
Really?
Western Colorado, yeah. There's a lot of Mennonites and.
Oh, okay.
Well, we've been in.
Well, true.
Those tiny coffee shops or like the bakery that's in,
Right.
like if you're out in those Western Colorado mountain towns, you'll go into a place and like it's all ladies with weird handkerchiefs on their head
Yeah, or the bonnets.
or the bonnets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
there's
and the prairie dresses.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And you're like, "What is this like a theme?" And it's like, "Nope, this is owned by a religious sect."
Yeah. But
Yeah.
he was really cool. He's also an audio engineer and sounds like a pretty advanced guitar player. He plays,
okay.
he plays for a metal band, and he said he had set up a pretty big regional tour for his band right before COVID hit.
Oh.
So he was kind of bummed about that. But yeah, we had fun talking about music.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, you just meet people all over the place.
Yeah.
You were sure tired when you got home, though.
Yeah, partly this is mainly lack of sleep.
Yeah, mainly
More than
lack of
anything.
sleep.
Yeah.
And
Just been burning the candle at both ends all summer long.
yeah, that's true. And so that was Friday, and then Saturday we had first showcase practice.
Oh, what a day.
Yeah. Saturday was a long day. We had showcase rehearsal, which was like 9 to 1. I think we got out of there by almost 1.
Yeah. 1 or 1:30. 1.
Yeah.
12:30. 12:30 because we rehearsed at the other band at 12:30. Yeah. And
So we did showcase rehearsal, which was great, and everybody
easy.
did. Yeah.
Good.
And then we jumped over and did rehearsal with one of the student bands, one of the beginning bands at Performance High, which Paul is running.
Yes.
Yeah. And we had to rehearse because I was playing keyboard on what turned out to be 3 of the songs, which
You did great.
I did okay.
You did so much better than I would have.
I don't really play keyboard, so I guess considering I don't play keyboard, yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
It was interesting though because I've told you I developed so much of the small amount that I can play piano. I've experimented on myself by doing it mostly by visualization.
Yeah.
Meaning, like, instead of sitting at a piano and playing the piano, I would, sitting in traffic, trying to fall asleep, any sort of boring time, I would visualize playing stuff on the piano and just do it mentally. And I as the experiment went, I think it was a big success. I got better at playing piano without actually touching a piano. Just to see if that would actually work.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, because I know what should be played on the piano. I just don't have the technical ability to play it. So it's fairly easy for me to, in my head, just visualize, well, this would go here, and then you go to this chord, and I would just kind of visualize playing through chord sequences. I guess, it doesn't work in all keys. We'll talk about that. But anyway, so we got done with rehearsing with, what was their name? The Trouble with Beauty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great band. Sarah, Eva, Stacy,
Stacey.
Eileen. What a great group of people. So game to try stuff.
They were, like, it just shows how, here's takeaway, like, being unafraid to just try things can get you so far, because two of them played drums in this band.
Right.
And both of them had never played drums before joining this band 3 months ago.
Right. And they both did very well
great.
At it. I mean,
solid time.
Keeping it straight.
Going,
yeah, but Sarah was great, Eva was great. It really does show a lot how and then they were talking before the actual showcase, which we did Sunday. They were talking about how, like, they were nervous, but it was, like, fun nervous.
Yeah.
Like, it's good to be nervous. It's good to be doing something that you're like, oh, this is new, and I'm pushing beyond my normal boundaries and so on and so forth.
That's what the high of performing is about, and
that's precisely, yeah.
That's what it's all about.
I was impressed with all of them. They were pushing themselves. They were playing instruments they didn't normally play. They were, taking. All of them took leads on some of the lead vocals.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
So we rehearsed with them, and then we rushed down to Colorado Springs. We were at Stargazers. We've talked about that place. One of our favorite places, I think. It's one of the 2 places we play in Colorado Springs these days.
Really nice owners. Always like seeing
Lovely.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, John and Cindy.
Yeah. And they had friends fly in from Phoenix for the show.
Oh my gosh. Yes. So apparently they had some family friends who had just happened to be in town the last time we played there. And so these people came to the show because they were in town, and and they liked it enough that they flew back in specifically to see us.
And it was a big group.
It
seemed like it was like 10 or 12 people.
I think it was at least 10 or 12 people.
Yeah.
They were from Phoenix, so
Yeah. But I used that to connect with the audience.
You did use that, yeah.
Yeah, because I think it was, I don't even remember which song. Oh, it was just my hello.
Right.
It was my hello moment. So 5-6 songs into the first set. And I said, there's something that Stevie Nicks and I have in common. That's that we both were born and grew up in Phoenix, Arizona. And then I heard, woo! Yeah. I was like, there you guys are, Sue and Vanessa and company.
And you totally remembered, yeah.
I totally remember their names, which I never remember.
But that was great. And weird thing about people from Phoenix, not a lot of people know. People from Phoenix, obsessed with books that are mostly pictures. You cannot be around someone from Phoenix for more than 10 minutes before they start talking about a book that is mostly pictures, or asking if you have a book that's mostly pictures. Anyway. I don't know what that riff was. I'm trying to say people from Phoenix are dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else about that show? I think we went maybe 5 minutes too long.
I think we really did. I think that was a great lesson to learn is that, I mean, people stayed.
Yeah.
And we were very lucky to sell well. It was over 300.
And the Ford Amphitheater opened the same night.
And we were
So-
competing with a large outdoor amphitheater that it was their first opening weekend. So we were lucky to do as well as we did. I think it just got a little late for people.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
think that's all it was because,
Yeah.
you know, people...
And, Skiles was feeling it too because we have that little alarm clock display that I bring to, and I put on the piano. And he, like, put his hand over it and, like, kind of was, like, pointing at the time real gentle. Like, almost like he was just holding it, but he was, like, pointing at the time. I was like, I know. Well, like, what do you want me to do? Cut a song? I mean, we already skipped one, so.
Yeah. I was a little
yeah.
worried too. I think next time we do it, I would almost ask if, it's hard for venues just to understand the business a little bit. The venue wants to be open early enough that they can sell food and drinks to people before the show starts. They're still going to get food and drinks while the show's going on, but less, right? So part of the business is they want to get people in and get them their drinks and get them their dinner and so on and so forth.
Right.
So they don't want to, for example, especially at a place that serves dinner, they don't want to open doors at 6 and then start the show at 6:30.
Right.
That's
Right.
not enough time to get everybody served, get
Yeah.
everybody settled. That said, I might see if at that venue at least we could start earlier. Like if we started at 6:30 instead of 7, which is only a half hour, and they would have to open doors way earlier, but like,
Oh. Yeah.
so who knows if it would work, but
Yeah. We should talk to Vic about that.
we are back there in December, so we'll see.
Yeah.
If not, you know what we should do? We should just make sure that break is short.
Yeah. Yeah. And that first set was supposed to be 65 and it ended up being 70 minutes. So.
And some of it was me because I went out and checked. Like, I always like take off my outfit and throw on a t-shirt and go out and check A, the stage, and then B, I'll usually walk around the audience. And the lines for drinks were like super long. So I was saying, no problem if we take a longer break because this place doesn't have table service. It's a line, and they serve people amazingly fast. They have like 5 or 8 lanes, but at the same time, when I walked out and checked, it was like a lot of people were waiting.
Oh, okay.
But in hindsight, I think we should just make those breaks
Yeah.
short just
Yeah.
to get it.
Yeah.
It just got a little late. That's all.
And so people weren't leaving early, but we had to come back to the quote encore like within 5 seconds because that was gonna just not happen.
It was not. I told you immediately. Like I could hear the
Yeah.
applause and like they wanted it, but they were not going to beg for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That's-
that was. I thought it was a great show. I mean, no real takeaways. It was just.
Yeah, no. I mean, you were talking at dinner about how many different kinds of vibrato you have access to now.
I was saying I feel like I've leveled up as a guitar player somewhat recently, and not even on purpose. I just have felt it the past couple shows, the past couple. Just I feel like I almost have like a vocabulary of vibratos that I can hit now. There's a fast wide one. There's a very slow tight one.
Yeah.
There's the one that starts with no vibrato and then it just
Yeah.
vibratos a little as it tails off like a singer would do.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's funny and then I think I've talked on the podcast, all the different articulations of like you can hit it with the pick a couple different ways and then I've got this finger and this finger and there's all these different sounds you can make and it's not really just the notes you're playing but like which of the articulations to the notes am I going to apply?
Yeah.
And it's made playing both at the showcase and at Stargazers, it made guitar playing really fun lately because I just feel like I have access to just more colors in the palette or something. And it's all tiny stuff. I'm probably the only one that notices.
Yeah.
But
How do you feel the show went from a show perspective, like talking and all that stuff?
I thought it went great. I thought you did really, really well.
Yeah, I felt on.
And you
For the
were
talking
you were
parts.
on the whole show, in my opinion. You
Actually,
were
yeah.
you were lit up.
That's true. I was pretty hot.
Yeah.
Had good ad libs and I had good like insanity moments and I had good talking.
And yeah.
And my voice was on. It wasn't on during sound check, so this is interesting. You mentioned
Yeah.
vibrato. So part of what I have to do for the Stevie Nicks voice is a tremolo, which is a fast vibrato.
Yeah.
You know.
Choppier vibrato.
Yeah, it's just a faster frequency.
Yeah.
And I lose that when I don't sing her stuff for
because that's not natural.
A period
for
of
you.
time. Yeah, it requires tension. Like
Right.
tremolo is not considered to be ideal for vocals because it requires tension. Vibrato doesn't require tension. Vibrato requires release.
Right.
So I have to kind of like tense the root of my tongue, and I have to kind of like be a little more powerful in my singing to get that
Right.
to happen. And I don't normally sing like that. So it's been an interesting experiment to see how long I can retain the Stevie Nicks tremolo between shows. Like, how often do we have to play for me not to have to practice it?
Right.
So we had 2 shows 1 week apart, and I thought, that's fine. I'll probably still have it, but I didn't at sound check.
Right.
It was. I mean, I had a small vibrato, but it wasn't a really like the Stevie tremolo. But by the time we hit the show, like something settled in and it came back, and I had it super good.
I noticed, that's one takeaway you reminded me of was I had you way louder in my monitor.
Oh yeah.
And I've talked about before, my philosophy of monitors is I want the least in it. Like, all I want in my monitor is stuff that helps me do my job. Which usually for me is just a sprinkle of vocals, so I know that they're there when they're there and when they're not. And then I want to hear myself, and then usually I want to hear hi-hat. Because I just want to do my job, and it's easier for me to not be, and it's just good monitor management, in my opinion. Anyway, I had you kind of very loud in my monitor last night. And to be fair, I'm not that far away from you guys on a lot of stages, so I'm hearing it out of your... Anyway.
Yeah.
But really being able to hear you in detail was really interesting. And on a couple of the songs Saturday night, you were really nailing the Stevie thing. I mean, I told you on the ride back, you were doing that like where you're like, this is more Stevie than Stevie would do it. But it really gave you that like almost sense memory of like hearing the real song of like, oh, that's totally it. You're doing it,
Cool.
So I think I'm gonna have you and Julian a lot louder than normal. I really enjoyed hearing it a lot better.
Oh, why? Thank you.
And I of course love hearing everybody, but you get so much splash from the stage that it's like I hear Brian fine because I can hear his monitor. I hear Vic fine because I can hear his amp.
Yeah. Exactly.
Exactly. Anyway, then just last night, and I was just saying it's unbelievable that this was just last night. We had a showcase at Nisi's.
Yeah.
And I would like to personally apologize to the Chipotle by Nisi's. We were not able to eat at your establishment this time, and I am so sorry. I will have 2 burritos there next time just to make it up to you.
Well, when it's our showcase at Nisi's, we should eat at Nisi's anyway. I mean, I guess when it's our show at Nisi's, we should eat at Nisi's. But...
I mean, the Chipotle thing's just a joke. But, and obviously we needed to be there the whole time. And it was great to be there the whole time. So the showcase, of course, is all the different singers playing with kind of our backup band. But then we had the bands.
The student bands.
Student bands. Trouble with Beauty. And I got up and played keys with them, 3 songs. I realized... right when they played 1 song, and then I went up for the last 3, and I realized right when we were starting, like as in when it was getting counted off, I realized that my chart was on the other side of the stage.
Oh no!
So I had to play with no chart.
Oh man!
So I missed a few little things, but I just was like. Oh, and you only asked me to do it. What Wednesday?
Yeah.
Thursday, something like that. So I
well,
had not practiced it that much.
That's what happens when someone leaves their band in the lurch by quitting right before a showcase.
I think that is very fair to say, and yeah, I mean that's kind of.
I'm not gonna throw anyone under any buses here because
but it's I mean,
it's not the professional move, that's for sure.
It stuck people in a weird position.
Yeah.
But with having to practice guitar for the showcase, I just didn't have that much
Yeah.
And then we started, and as he was counting it off, I was like, what am I missing here? Oh, yeah, my chart.
Oh, no.
And I can goof around on the keyboard, but the key of F sharp major is not a good key for me. It's a lot of black keys. It's a lot of like mixed white and black keys.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, got through it fine.
Yeah.
It was, and I thought the band did great. They handled their nerves
Yeah.
amazingly well.
I'm so proud of them.
They were able to have fun. And then, of course, the showcase band played. Man, one standout, Vera Chung.
Oh my gosh. She's like a new little Lillian Plaisance at our studio.
How old is she? She's got to be
I don't know, but I would guess like 9.
9. Yeah, something like that.
It's a very small girl.
Yeah.
Her mom has been taking lessons with us for quite a while.
Quite a while.
Now Vera is taking lessons.
And she just got up there and murdered it.
She did.
She talked to the audience confidently.
I know.
She sang confidently.
Yeah.
One of the songs, I was a little worried actually. It starts fat, like the vocal starts like,
Yeah.
right away, and she just was like on it, and she
Yeah.
was singing out loud and
Good sense of rhythm, good sense of pitch.
moving around.
Yeah.
She
my
was
gosh.
she slayed. Ashley Erickson killed it, I thought. And I mean everybody did, but
Yeah.
just a couple standouts. And so great to hang out with Nate and Ryan because we just don't get to like backstage it with those guys.
Yeah, you got a lot more hang time this time. than
Yeah.
normal.
And then a couple other student bands played. Little Windmills.
Yes, the Little Windmills.
Who I thought they were great.
They attempted and pulled off some very ambitious material.
Yeah, and Nate coaches them, and Nate got pulled in and had to play drums and keys, so he knew where I was coming from.
Yeah.
I thought they sounded, because we had heard a version of that band at least at one of the no, it wasn't the last showcase, but anyway, at a recent showcase.
The March
The
showcase.
March showcase. Okay. Yeah. And boy, they sounded so much better and sounded really good and really pro.
Yeah.
Brian Smith's not a bad drummer.
He's pretty darn good.
He's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
He was really driving that band.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we had Brit and the Boys, which have been at Performance High for
5 years.
5 years.
I think they're pre-pandemic.
Yeah, they've been together, and Joey Jarags, he coaches that band and plays with them, and they also sounded great. I mean, they are gigging quality.
Yeah.
They really are. Speaking of good drummers, Jake Cohen.
Jake has gotten better every time I see him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He really does. And Ryan and I were saying backstage, like, there's a thing about drums where there's just the physical, can you rhythmically do the beat, but then any real drummer also just has a touch where they just kind of draw the sound out of the drums, and they sort of mix themselves where it's like they're not hitting one element of the kit too hard and another too soft. They're sort of, and Jake just, he has that touch.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Awesome.
Like, I mean, when he hits a snare drum, you're like, oh, that's a drummer hitting that snare drum.
Huh.
Because it's not, you would think you're just hitting someone with a stick. I mean, by all logic, you would go, you're just hitting something with a stick. Anybody could do it the same way. But it's really not true. Like, there are people that have that touch where just, like, when they hit a snare drum, it, like,
Yeah.
lights up. I mean, I used to get, in the old studio days, it's probably long enough, when I had my studio in Florida, I would often record a drummer for a band, and then I would get my drummer, Randy, to come over. I would leave the kit set up and mic'd up, and I would get Randy to come over and just hit the snare a few times and then hit the toms a few times.
So you could get some samples.
And sample that, and then I would layer that in with the actual drummer playing it. Oh my
gosh.
Because when Randy hits a snare drum, the room blows up. It goes, blah, and like a lot of drummers just don't sound like, you don't get that crazy like gat sound.
Yeah.
And so I would just layer Randy hitting the drum in with the exact same
great.
drum and stuff, but it would just, it would enforce the sound so much more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a funny thing.
Well, I want to say I was impressed with Nate's time on the drums. I mean, he's not.
Oh, very much.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he said that he did used to play quite a bit more, but he had to, just kind of dust it off for this. But like, I would notice if there was like a snare build or a fill or something, he was not
Right.
speeding up. He was like on the grid.
Yeah.
It was. I was like, well, of course.
He really, yeah.
He's got good time.
He's got good time. It was funny too, because Ryan and I were sitting backstage when he started,
Oh yeah.
and I was like, man, because it was a 16th note groove, and I've played drums too, and at first I was like, man, that is like at the outer edge, like a 16th note groove. Very often you would play with one hand. In a funk context, like in a way faster disco-y context, you'd be da 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 da, and you'd be using two hands. But in a slower, funky thing, you might go da 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 da. And I was like, man, that is like at the outer limit of what I could do with one hand. And Ryan was like, oh, well, I think he's switching, meaning he's doing two hands.
Yeah.
And going da 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 da. And as soon as Ryan said it, I was like, oh yeah, totally, that is what he's doing. Like it. And then we were like, we got to go look and make sure. And sure enough, Nate was doing it with two hands. But it was just so funny because I was like, man, that is fast for one hand. And then as soon as Ryan said it, I was like, oh, that is two hands. Like you can just hear how it's just different. It just sounds a little different.
Yeah.
But that was one of the fun things about getting to hang out with Ryan. And I will say one cool thing about the showcase for the students was Nisi's does have not a large, but a very nice green room. And it seemed to be a bit of an experience for people to...
Yeah.
And I was sitting there working on the computer like early, like right after load in. And the amount of people that walked in and were like, oh my gosh, is this the green room? And I literally, it happened like 10 times. And I was literally, no, it's not all. I was literally getting annoyed. I was like, if one more person says, is this the green room? Wow. But I think it was great that people got, that experience. And there was some real backstage hang. It was sort of a little bit like the Boulder Roots, Roots music.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where people were getting an experience of like, this is what it's like to be backstage.
Yeah.
And just hanging out with your other musicians.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Yeah. And then, and Mark, the owner of Nisi's, and as well as Clayton, the GM of Nisi's, made a point of saying that was the best student quote recital or showcase by far that they have ever hosted from any school.
Mark said the same thing to me. And Mark and I normally don't talk. I mean, not for any reason. We just don't, run into each other. Yeah. And he was even like, that was the best. He was like, he was like, blew me away.
He's ready for us
I don't know
to
what
come
he
back.
said.
I mean, he'd like to sell a little more food and beverage, but ticket sales were good.
Sure.
The audience was respectful and everything. Apparently that's a problem with some schools. Yeah, he's had...
Really?
There's a particular very well-known school. Actually, I guess they're big enough so I can just say it. School of Rock. He won't have School of Rock back because the parents don't treat the staff well.
Wow.
And other reasons.
I don't find that wildly surprising.
I mean, like it was in his guidelines that he gave me for recitals. He's put together like pointers and guidelines.
Oh, good for him.
Please ask your families to treat the staff well. And I was like, do I really need to do that? I don't think I really need to do that. I mean,
can't.
my God, who would not?
That is not performance.
I mean, if you have to ask someone to do that, like then you've lost already. Like, no one's going to change their behavior. They just are who they are.
Yeah, I started out saying I was not all that surprised, but then like that is surprising that like enough of a hassle that no thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That is
so
something else.
Anyway, assuming we can, keep the same kind of ticket sales going, I think the door is open to continue to do showcases.
And I think it's going to be even easier. We've talked about it a million times. Sorry if this is a repeat. Colorado in the summer.
Yeah.
It is just going to be hit and miss as far as ticket sales.
Yeah. And we may drop down to 2 live band showcases per year.
That makes sense.
You know, so we would probably do one like early May and one around the holidays.
Yeah. But, I think those will be, I mean, they might not sell twice as good or way better, but it's going to be at least a little more like solid because, Colorado in the summer, people are hiking, they're camping, they're traveling, they're just wanting to be outside.
Yeah.
There's so many outdoor live events that people have as options to go see. It's just a fun time.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was pretty much our week.
That was the whole week.
Yeah.
The blow by blow, play by play rundown of our whole week, in case you were interested in listening to all of that.
There were some takeaways in there, there were some takeaways. Any recommendations? Have we talked recommendations lately? I mean, Night Owl, if you happen to be out by Night Owl, I have to say the best hummus
Oh my gosh.
we've ever had.
The best hummus on the planet.
It was
Because I've had all of the hummus on the planet.
so you would know. And no, it was. We were both like shocked.
I was shocked. I did not think hummus could be that good. So it was hummus with chimichurri sauce on it. So that green sauce that you usually find like near Mexican food. Well, not Mexican food,
No,
but like Central American food maybe.
Argentina, I think,
Okay,
or
yeah,
somewhere
yeah.
down there. Yeah.
So it's like a chopped up green sauce. Very herby, and then also I think like a balsamic.
Yeah, it was some sort of balsamic vinegar.
Reduction or
yeah,
something.
Yeah, reduction. Yeah, it was. It wasn't as liquidy. Yeah.
So, oh my gosh. So, yes, Night Owl, it's in what mall?
Colorado Mills.
Yeah,
So that's
so-
west side of Denver.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like a kind of appetizer, small bites
Yeah.
plate, but the hummus was just like
Oh, and their prices were great. It was really generous food
really
for the price.
generous. I mean, we ate it for like, what, 3 meals?
Yes.
We just ate some of it.
It was like $18 for like
yeah.
one for these like sampler plate thing, and it was a lot of food.
It was a ton of food. Definitely check out Night Owl.
Yeah.
Obviously Nieces, if you see a show that you would want to see. In
Nieces,
fact, I can kind of confidently, Mark does not mess around. If someone is playing at Nieces, they're good, and it's going to be a good show.
Mm-hmm.
Highly recommend Nieces, and
And he's been in the industry a while.
oh my
Do you
gosh,
remember in the
Yeah.
hallway
Yeah.
when you come into the front door of Nieces? What is it? A photo or a page out of his address book from like
It's
the 80s?
It's literally a typed up page from when he used to manage Caroline's in New York City, which is a very famous comedy club. And it's just literally framed the sheet of paper with names and phone numbers on it. But it is like a who's who of Hall of Famer comedians. And it was apparently the page he would like, if you need to fill a spot, you call one of these guys and get them to come down and do a set.
Do you remember any of the
I
names?
mean, Louis C.K., Chris Rock, Caroline Ray. I mean, it's like everybody from back in the 80s. I mean, like, I don't think Seinfeld's on there, but it's like, because Seinfeld was probably already on TV, but it's crazy. Everybody on that list is
And
now
he just
like,
had their 7-digit phone numbers.
no area code. No area code. Yeah. Just, yeah. And you know what? I'll make a rec on that. I actually need to email Susie because she was asking me about comedians. But I would recommend to anybody out there, because he's also totally clean, Nate Bargatze.
Ah, yes.
Bargatze, Nate Bargatze. Hilarious comedian, guy from Tennessee. Look him up. He's tons of stuff on YouTube, tons of specials on Amazon and Netflix and everywhere.
All right.
So that's a rec.
recommendation.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get out of here. And
Got to practice some bass.
yeah, you sure do. And yeah. All right. So we are sponsored as always by Performance High
Voice and Music Studio.
and no one else.
No more money coming in.
No more money coming in, except for the books that are mostly pictures, people.
Okay. We'll see you next week.
All right. Bye.